Okay, not to worry. Hello, Connecticut. We're hearing some struggling in different towns. You know, Norwalk is a free-for-all of which there's really no solution in sight. We have so many problems. But South Windsor seems to be also in a struggle. And I have Stephanie on the phone. She's lovely. And as far as I'm concerned, she is head and shoulders above the rest. But she's provided a video here. I'd like you to see it.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
It's fantastic.
That all men
it's not very long.
Equal.
We don't just say it.
Let me turn up the volume.
We organize.
And then I'll let you speak at the end, okay?
Okay.
Together we work for fair wages and equal pay.
So we can have good education for ourselves, for affordable health care for our families, and a clean planet for the next generation.
So we can decide what's best for our own bodies.
And marry the person we love.
For those battles we haven't won yet, we need to keep fighting.
Sometimes that means sitting so that others can stand up.
Listening so that others can be heard.
Or lending a hand so others can pull themselves up.
Because we know that behind balanced budgets, new deals, and multi-point plans
are people.
People who are trying to do good, to get to work, to make their mark.
For themselves, their families, and their communities.
And through decades of administrations, revolutions, and global changes,
we have been driven by one question.
How can we do the most good for the most people?
Wow.
Because we don't believe in simply electing someone to give us the country we want to live in.
We believe in creating it.
At town hall meetings, on school boards, and state legislatures, from the halls of Congress to the Oval Office.
Oh boy.
We are Democrats.
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 This is what we do.
This is what we have always done.
Let's go make some more history together.
Wow.
Well, isn't that the truth?
I mean, from BLM to Antifa to pedophilia to the Ku Klux Klan to, why don't you take it away? Go ahead.
So I think that this video needs to be aired all over Connecticut.
No doubt about it.
And be completely geared towards Connecticut. And I think that it's time for Republicans, if we're not going to be able to rely on our committees and things like that to, in our party to stand up and do the right thing, then some of us Republicans are just going to have to do it ourselves.
Let's ask a question to the audience. What would you do if we had a PAC that Stephanie ran? What would you do? Would you support it? Or would you let, Hartford fail? Hartford's failing. Every time it gets a bailout, here's $500 million. It's a drop in the bucket. It's just spread out as a bribe to whoever's on the take, and there's no benefit. Look at those pictures in that montage of Philadelphia, Detroit, Baltimore. Look at Baltimore. Jesus. We have our own problems with Bridgeport and, Waterbury, Hartford, New Haven. 6 of our cities account for 17% of our criminal population in the prison system. 6 cities, 17%. It's a disaster. So why don't you get back to Stephanie or I, and let's see what we can do to help her. If she's being, basically pushed off the diving board into a pool, we got to give her enough water so that she doesn't hit the bottom of the pool that's empty. Break her neck that way.
So we need to get PACs, and I make this as like a very important point that I think that we've missed in this past election. And if you notice, the Democrats, what they do around election time is these PACs put out, for those who don't know, it's a political action committee, and they run commercials throughout the election times about all the negative things Republicans. Yeah. So what I can't.
The Democrats are running smear tactic television ads, like they did to Mr. Stefanowski, and Stephanie's right.
But my intention is not to smear anybody, because they basically handed this to us.
Right.
They have done enough wrong and have done and made enough, there's a lot of money that doesn't make sense exactly where it's gone. There's a lot of stuff being put through social justice and, things like that. We don't know where any of that money's going. How do you put all this money towards social justice? And there's no result. There's no result either. So it's Connecticut hears these things, and unless we can reach a large group of people through commercials and mail and things like that, I don't know how else we're going to do it.
Well, look at the transgender issue, right? You can say, wow, support transgender, or you're a homophobe, or you can look at it as, listen, you're taking away parental rights for kids, teaching them that transgender is okay at age 5 in a school where you're not there to protect your own kid. So what's right and what's wrong? Are you a racist? Are you a pedophile? Are you, you can't let the doctors and third parties have influence over your child, demonstrating to them that they should be unhappy with their own sex or gender.
Well, you know what? I was actually at a conference about this recently, and there was an interesting point made about these kids and wanting to change their sex. And the problem is that there's this constant need for victimizing, constant need, to victimize oneself.
Right.
And and so I feel like some of the kids that are lost, they say, well, in order for me to get that attention, then I'm going to try to change my sex. And I think that we're missing big mental health issues. And I think that it's really more of a cry for help. And I'm not trying to undermine, a transgender person and whatever.
Right.
But we're missing something. There's a reason why you have to take a psychological exam before you have that surgery. So, and I don't know if a lot of people know that, but you have to go through a very extensive psychological counseling. Well, if it's not a psychological problem, then why do you have to go through psychological exams to have the surgery?
I hear you. I mean, some of these images on this video are just unbelievable. And it's true. I mean,
so I actually spoke out against BLM as well, probably about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago this December. And they, a group in my area, East of the River, posted a video of me. So basically, I'll tell you what I said. I didn't say it exactly gracefully, John, because, not all the times, sometimes
I know. Well, the Democrats in Stamford, East Windsor, believe it or not, Guilford, there's about 10 towns that sent out a letter that I'm aware of, because I've seen it, that said, we're not going to allow a single Trump supporter ever to hold office in the state of Connecticut again, which is shockingly bad, considering that we were doing so much better with Donald Trump as president than Joe Biden. I mean, here we go. We have, 2 bank failures in the last 2 days, and one of them is the 16th largest bank. I mean, give us a break. We had no risk of bank failures. I think they want to destroy the currency so they can bring in a one world order currency. You understand?
Right.
I mean, if that's true, which is hard to prove, here we go. We got pictures of pregnant men on their Democratic video, women with beards, okay, women in, men in dresses, abolish ICE. They have, rallies to abolish ICE. And here we go. We have our people starving. foreigners getting their college tuition paid, right? Police being defunded. You can go on and on with all the wrong decisions being made. They're all wrong. And
an interesting point about Trump, though. Do you think that, so number one, why are we still talking about him when he's not even president anymore? What is it that they fear in him so much? I don't even think it's him that they hate.
Well, he believes in God. He believes in God. That's a problem for them. They hate him because he believes in God. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. He believes in God. He believes in capitalism. He believes in freedom. He believes in less government. He believes in everything that they hate.
Yep.
He's just the face of it right now.
Excellent video. You rock it, girl.
We're going to get that video.
Whatever you do, I support you. I don't care.
Well, thank you very much.
Bless you and keep you safe. Because when you're targeted by your own party, it's a problem, folks. And that's what's going on. If you can't even win in your own party, how do you expect to win a statewide office? Impossible. If it's the fine-tuned and fine-oiled Communist Party of Connecticut or the Working Families Party of Connecticut versus independents that don't work together because they're independent. You're like, hold on a second. There's no leadership. There's no foundation, and there's no support system. That's what's happening. The people going against this very small number of Democrats can't beat them. Why? I think they are rigging the elections. I can prove it. We have a case in Stanford Superior Court. We're suing the Secretary of State. I have them under my thumb. But even today we had a hearing at 3 o'clock with the, what do you call it? The Whistleblowers Communications Office of the state of Connecticut. They say that it wasn't a civil rights violation to do election fraud, which is unbelievable. They're saying that they can't hear our case because an employee of the state wasn't the whistleblower. I said, hold on a second. Every single citizen of the state's election voice is being stifled. That means every single person in the state of Connecticut is having their constitutional rights taken from them through election fraud. I've already proven we have thousands of 223-year-old Democrats voting in the state of Connecticut every election. There are 21,000 people that are dead that are voting. There are hundreds of people, 116 years old, 118 years old, voting, active voters on the rolls. We proved it. We have the evidence. We had 50 convicts that are in prison vote in person. That's impossible, folks. That is impossible. They didn't leave the prison to vote. I'm all for having inmates vote, but you know who they're going to vote for? The people who put the prosecutor that has no bail in. So they get released. They don't get arrested. They don't get processed. They're out on the street in 15 minutes for committing a heinous crime. There is a multiple rapist free in Stanford right now. He raped a woman in 2000, 2003, 2008, 2013. They let him out. Guess what? He just raped a woman on a Metro North train in Rye, New York. They just took his ankle monitor off last week. They can't find the guy. Hello. How stupid is Bob Duff, our Senate Majority Leader? You know, he's my neighbor. Well, hold on. If you're not tough on rapists, serial rapists, he just raped a 16-year-old, and that's on you, Bob Duff. You can kiss my rear end. I don't care what you think of me.
It just goes to show how broken our system really is, because you have to remember, the one thing I've realized about these very mentally ill people as a nurse is that they were children first.
Well, Bob Duff isn't necessarily mentally ill. I don't know why
No.
that conclusion.
So the rapist
Oh, the racist. You're talking about the rapist or the racist?
No, so the rapist.
Oh.
Think about how long he's gone through the system, before he committed his first rape.
Well, you know what's shocking? The judge, like you say, it's the prosecutor. Well, the judge didn't sign a protective order to protect someone who's being threatened with rape by that same guy. His name is Joiso Clemente. So if you run into this guy, run.
Oh, God.
He's a very handsome monster. Need I say more? Thank you, Stephanie. Why don't you say a final wrap-up?
Okay, so my final wrap-up is going to be, you mentioned election fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back in the 80s, and a friend of mine actually told me this. This isn't my idea, but it's something I want to utilize the PAC for. Back in the 80s, when Reagan was president, there was election fraud going on.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in that administration, or, Reagan, buddies of Reagan, I'm not sure exactly who did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart. And at the time, everything was done through mail, right?
Right.
So what they did was they sent out a piece of mail. And you send out a piece of mail like anything, advertising anything. And when you get that, when you send out like a mass mailer, you always get a list of the returned addresses.
Right.
Compare those returned addresses to absentee ballots and the absentee ballot reports and things like that. But we obviously need to raise money in order to send out this mass mailer, which is going to cost a lot, which I don't have a price yet, but it's probably going to cost a lot.
Right.
So once we get those mailers back, so that's the thing is PACs have the flexibility to do a lot of things that, town committees and maybe state candidates and things like that don't want to put their name on.
Right.
But it can help influence. So PACs are very important, and I think that they need to become much more important in the Republican Party.
Well, think of it this way. How many elections did we win in the last cycle?
None. How many Republican PACs did you see doing commercials?
So why would our chairman get up and say, wow, look at all the things we did right? Well, we did nothing wrong.
I know. Well, we did. I think with every election, we got to learn, there's always mistakes, and we have to learn from those mistakes. And, I think...
Well, tomorrow night they're going to vote, and it's a mistake to give all your control over to Ben Proto. There's no way. He's going to decide who to fund and who not to fund. So here we go. We get a Themis, right? Big mistake. We end up with Leora Levy. Sorry, Leora. There's flaws in these candidates. Huge flaws. I'm not going to go into it. But there are huge flaws with these candidates, and I'm not perfect. But the fact of the matter is, don't tell me who you're going to fund. Should I pick on Leora for a second? Maybe not. It's not fair. But Themis is a disaster, okay? Was a disaster. And we don't have good candidates stepping up like Stephanie. We just don't have them.
Maybe.
Here we go. With their ruffling feathers, scratching for this power. It isn't power, folks. It's the duty, not the power, that's mattering. If someone needs to knock Saad Anwar out, it has to be done. Who in their right mind would close the methadone clinics during COVID and deny people Narcan and deny people methadone while they're hooked on Oxy, which our senators all took bribes to allow Purdue Pharma to they're pill mill pushers, our senators. That's in my opinion.
But the package stores remained open.
Well, that's, I'm Irish. Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
That was the resolution. Keep the package stores open and shut down the methadone clinics. And Saad Anwar actually said it on NPR.
Well, Saad Anwar, hopefully everyone knows, he's a defendant in the 5G lawsuit, Connecticut 5G. We now have New York and New Jersey. So it's Connecticut, New York, New Jersey 5G. Thank you very much. And we can prove, we have evidence that is so outstandingly awesome, we must thank our two ladies who can't be mentioned for gathering it all. Thank you, ladies. Oh, and incidentally, please answer this question, if anyone can answer this question. Why is Robert Marconi defending Mrs. Melanie Bachman? Can anyone tell me? She's at the Siting Council. She determines where all these cell towers go. Overriding local control. Why is Robert Marconi representing Melanie Bachman? Can anyone tell me? Because she's not an employee of the state. The Siting Council is a corporation that is privately owned, and they should not have immunity for what they're doing. They're claiming immunity, but they have none because it is privately owned. Who's buying your children's right not to get cancer, get autism, or be infertile? 5G will make every child in Connecticut infertile due to the short-term gains of Melanie Bachman at the Siting Council. So when you say, what can we point out that the Democrats are doing wrong? Well, let me tell you, 5G is going to bring you to your knees during a pandemic, attacking your immune system, and there's no regulation, there's no oversight. We found towns with very, very high RF radiation readings, and it will cause blindness. It causes your retinal to detach, 5G. Don't sleep near your router, okay? You could wake up and find out you have your lymph node cancer, thyroid cancer, all these types of things. They're coming for you. Why? Because it's one of these ideas. Abolish ICE. Oh, defund the police. Oh, 5G. 5G is a nightmare. And it's being used by Connecticut's Fusion Center to undermine your privacy rights, your neuro rights. Yale is a defendant in the 5G lawsuit because they're trying to use MKUltra, Havana syndrome tactics by chipping everyone. Chipping you using 5G to torture you if you don't agree with their way of thinking. It's over, folks. If you don't support what's going on with the election problem, the 5G problem, all these problems where the prosecutors are falsely arresting people, where the judges are totally corrupt. Look at the foreclosure market. Look at the foreclosure market. Go to your town and go through the housing court and see how many people are being robbed due to robo-signing, title fraud. There's 18 types of mortgage fraud going on. And the worst one is EMAP fraud. False documentation from a bank that failed in 2009, and the attorneys know how to falsify your signature. It's easy, folks. And you don't even find out till after your house is sold and you don't ever get the money. Someone else gets the money who has the title to your house that was falsified due to judges like Judge Spader, who's kicked out of Bridgeport for so many problems, went to the Stanford court, kicked out of Stanford, kicked out of Norwalk. Now he's in New Haven. Just like that child pedophile priest that was in Bridgeport got caught, was sent to Stanford, who got caught going after the youth. And being a pedophile is possibly the worst thing there is, because you've got to protect these rights of children. And I'm not talking about pro-life versus pro-choice. I'm talking about children being victims by the LGBTQP party. When pedophilia becomes a part of an acceptable family norm, you're in trouble. And I'll tell you this, there are too many judges protecting pedophiles. There's a case right now in federal court where the clerk is being accused of being a pedophile of the federal court. His wife was imprisoned, medicated. We're talking to her. She's a pistol. She has all the evidence. And if you look at the court cases on the screen, all the evidence was hidden by the Second Circuit Court. That's scary because that's the most powerful court in the tri-state area. And the clerk is a pedophile. And the judge covered up. And if you look at the facts, the mom lost her kids. He got custody. They gave custody to the pedophile, folks. I'm not afraid to talk about it. No, I'm not. There are worse cases. I'm just saying, I'm trying to relate to you how we need to stop what's going on here. You can't allow socialism to take over your private businesses like the Lori Kavanaugh case going on right now in New London, like the Highlander case going on in Lebanon, Connecticut. Tomorrow is a case. Let me highlight this. Tomorrow is the most important case. Tomorrow is called Ken Collins versus a law firm. The case is at 10 o'clock. You've got to see it because up till now, the lawyers have lied so many times that they switched the case from the civil court to the criminal court. I think at 10 o'clock tomorrow, there's going to be fireworks. I'm going to film it. The courts don't allow you to film, folks. It's a problem. I'll probably get arrested tomorrow. But you know what? I'll post bail. I'll be out. And you know what? I'm going to get this on tape. Them throwing me out of the court. Why? Because the guy lying on the stand has 3 sets of books. Accounting. 3 sets of accounting. He was supposed to fix a roof in 2016. In 2018, he had a judgment against him to fix that roof. As a result of not fixing that roof, this landlord, who has an attorney that's unethical, got everyone in the building, got mold problems and cancer, and they are dying. Okay, so there's a defense contractor in Connecticut, in Vernon, whose roof leaked, and everyone got sick, everyone got cancer, and everyone's going to die. And it's all because of the corruption of the court. Yes, the corruption of the court. So, sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but if you don't learn what's happening in the courts, folks, supporting a candidate like Stephanie is moot. We're not going to have, we're on the edge of never recovering from the problems that we're creating by choosing the wrong leaders. That's all. Sorry, Stephanie. I'm going to tell you 28 minutes. We were going to wrap this up a while ago. I think we didn't waste any time, though. Thank you again.
We never waste time.
If you don't learn what's going on in the courts, folks, all these minor issues don't matter. I wouldn't say that Black lives don't matter. I wouldn't say that. But to put it this way, if Black Lives Matter and Antifa send $700,000 a month to Richard Blumenthal, which is true on average, and he's our U.S. Senator, okay, why didn't he do anything to them in Portland when they were rioting? Because we're getting closer and closer to problematic rioting in Stamford, Connecticut. We're on the edge of a powder keg. And you know what? To have things happen, which are happening, let me tell you a story about Dr. Ahuja. Dr. Ahuja was an oxy pill mill doctor. Purdue Pharma's in Stamford, Connecticut. Purdue Pharma paid $112 million in bribes to Connecticut so they could push pills on people, get them addicted. And what happened was, there's a doctor in Darien, Connecticut. 8 people have come forward saying that he raped them. One woman, Heather, he drugged, raped. She woke up while being gang raped. And then he foreclosed on her house, folks. He bought a $3.5 million home from his assistant through foreclosure. And Stamford Police Department destroyed the evidence, pay Conklin, Chief Conklin, $1.4 million a year, and the number 2 in command, Van Allen, is the cop that destroyed the evidence. Now what's happening with Dr. Ahuja is he has 6 men coming forward saying he was raped. What's the problem here? He was giving opioids to high school students to get them hooked so he could have them as a sales force in my state, in my town, in my county. And you know what? All these enablers you're looking on this screen in that video, they enabled this to happen. What we learned recently is that Dr. Ahuja bought a judge, claims he bought a judge. I believe it's Judge White, and I can prove it. So what I'm saying is, when Dr. Ahuja was arrested, okay, Judge White heard the case, let him off on a $10,000 fine. You and I would have gone to prison forever. And what happened later? What happened later? Dr. Ahuja's brother was caught with $18 million in cash, bribing cops from New York to Texas, went to federal prison for 5 years. Now they find out that they have multiple social security numbers, many properties, and a woman came forward last week who was raped in 1998 by Dr. Ahuja. Nobody knew. She never spoke about it. Why? Because she's been in a mental facility in Connecticut since then. She's only been able to begin to talk about it 25 years later. What's the problem here? Norwalk has the same problem. Oh yeah. Waterbury has a worse problem. Shelton has a human trafficking problem. Waterbury has a human trafficking problem. Oh no, we don't have a budget for human trafficking. Why? Because these pedophiles think it's okay. Let me tell you something about Richard Blumenthal, folks. From 2006 to 2016, his office as Attorney General arrested 400 human traffickers. 0 prosecutions. 0. And you vote for that. You voted for that. We've had to live with that because you voted for that. And you don't even know the facts. And you don't even care about the facts. And the media, Hearst Media, won't even print the facts. The Stanford Advocate won't print the facts. The Norwalk Hour doesn't print the facts. Guess who owns News Channel 12, folks? Everybody watches it. Guess who owns them? Can anybody answer it? CNN owns News 12 Connecticut. Did you know that? Of course not, because you're not interested in learning about it. You're not interested in backing the right candidates, and you put your faith in these knuckleheads, all these people to abolish ICE. You see this sign right here? Abolish ICE? Really? Really? So you have no law enforcement. There's no law. There's no constitution in the Constitution state anymore, and we are dead. Thank you, Stephanie. 33 minutes? That's not even fair. I hope somebody watches it. Let's see. Maybe we'll get a lot of views. And I will use whatever I can do, set up a site for you, collect money for you, work on that PAC idea. You know what's the final comment? Connecticut wrote me a letter last week, somebody named Richard Grebo, saying I have a PAC. I don't have a PAC. Sorry, they're saying I had a state PAC. I was in a federal race. Why would I get a state PAC? Makes no sense. By the way, I'm my own treasurer.
Because that makes absolutely no sense.
Right. I'm my own treasurer in my federal race for U.S. Senate. I was my own treasurer. Why? Because I can be. But in Connecticut local state races, you have to have an independent treasurer. You can't be the treasurer. So here I am. I'm my own treasurer. I'm in a federal race. I would need a federal PAC. And they're saying I have a state PAC where I can't be my own treasurer, and I am. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Bless you, Stephanie. You know what? If you can't get support from your own town, you don't need it.
Nope.
I have no support from the city of Norwalk. Zero. And you know what? They're a bunch of lemmings. Absolute morons. Except for a handful.
But I am super grateful for people like you and, not my whole town, but just it's basically like a certain group of people. But, I really do have faith, and I really think that, if we can get the information out there and message properly and try to message better, I think it's possible.
I wish you run against Saad Anwar, who's a defendant in the 5G case, Johnny Flynn versus Blumenthal versus Chuck Schumer versus Menendez, senator from New Jersey, and Saad Anwar with Bob Duff and all those knuckleheads are going down because they all violated their oath of office for public safety when they pushed 5G through and claim to this day that it's safe. Well, hold on, Bob. If you can prove it's safe, Mr. Saad Anwar, you know what? Maybe you'll win. I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. So pray for Stephanie to crush Saad Anwar and come to the realization that everyone's got to step it up, folks.
We'll see, John. We'll see.
We'll see. Thank you. Adios, amigo. Loving you. Bye.
Bye.